begin this journey towards greatness, our goal is to create a quality brand. A brand with integrity. A brand that inspires and creates legacy. When a customer opens a PCS box, we want them to feel like they're opening up greatness. I heard this quote once, and it said, "Life is a journey that's meant to be traveled, no matter how bad the roads or accommodations. Do not go where the path may lead. Instead, go where there is no path and leave a trail."
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Getting Close Up, the show focused on independent artists and creatives. I'm your host, Danielle Cox, and I want to cordially invite you to become part of the GCU fam. Make sure you hit subscribe and ding the notification bell so you can stay connected with us. My guest today is a multifaceted creative who landed on the fashion scene and created a brand that's a love letter to his California home, as well as a message of tenacity and hope. Today, I am getting close up with Brandon Kennedy of Pacific Coast Supply Clothing Company. Hey there.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good.
I love your whole setup you got going on back there. It looks great.
Well, thank you. I tried to make it look good for y'all, so I hope I accomplished that goal.
Yeah, it looks great. You got your branding out there. So prepared. I appreciate it.
Good.
And while we're talking about it, you said something earlier when we were talking. It was really funny because we were talking about the weather and talking about how it was kind of wet and rainy here. And you were saying you were experiencing the same thing.
Right. I was like, it's cloudy. So it rained all day yesterday. And so today it's still cloudy and just overcasty and windy. So I was saying, whoever said it never rains in Southern California, they wasn't telling the total truth, because it rained. Trust me. But we need it. But we need it because California is basically a desert.
Yeah, right? Going through a drought and stuff. And that's and it's funny because I was like, look, many lies have been told over R&B beats.
Right.
Many lies.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. That's how a lot of us got in. Yeah.
A lot of stuff has gone down with that, but that's a different show, a different topic. I'm not going to get into it. But what we will get into is the fact that you are actually a Kansas City native.
Absolutely.
Even though you've been out in Cali for a long time. So talk to me a little bit about your creative roots as a young man.
So like I said, originally from Kansas City, Missouri, born and raised. I moved here when I was 25, so I was well, within my early manhood by the time I moved here. So even though I've been here 20 years now, or 20 plus years, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So 24, 21, Indiana. I've always been into like drawing or dancing or something like that. I went to the Middle School of the Arts when it first got established out there in the it used to be like the Jewish Community Center. It was like that on 85th and Holmes, right? So when it first got established, I went to that school, and you had to audition to get into that school. It was just like fame, so you had to go, like they had the auditions down in Martin Luther King. I'll never forget it. And you had to go to like these different rooms and audition on what you can do. So that's kind of where it started for me as far as my love for just art,
and
just
were you
everything.
Singing? Were you rapping? Were you dancing?
No, I was dancing then. I was a dancer, and I could draw.
Okay.
So that's how it started with the street dancing. That's how it all started. I could break down. That's how it started. That's what I got into the school for. So I took ballet and jazz and tap because they didn't have street dance or whatever. But I took that when I got to school. Yeah, and I danced with like Alvin and Haley. We used to have like these master dance classes with Alvin and Haley. Like I did a lot of stuff as a kid. It was a great experience for if you're trying to be a artistic kid. It was a great experience for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and we got to go to a lot of different things and experience a lot of different things. So from there, of course, you go on with life. That was like middle school. I moved to Atlanta for a while, came back.
So you just had a varied background, really.
Yeah. Just meeting people, going to do different things. It was funny because I tell people this story all the time. Like I went to school with Ryan Seacrest, like in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like my freshman year, I went to a school called Peachtree, and he went there, and and that's just funny. It's a
That
cool
is
story.
a
So I went to school at Ryan Seacrest, and then I came back to Kansas City, and I went to like Southeast for a while, but I graduated from Raytown. So, like I said, after that, you're just going through your life and you're trying to figure out what you want to do. And we had got into music, so the dancing had that creativity had kind of morphed into doing rap or whatever.
right. That
So we was
segued into
rapping,
rapping.
right? So we was doing the rapping thing. Long story short, those we did that for a number of years. It was me, uh, my buddy Chuck, and my buddy Trey. We did that for a number of years, and then after a while, it kind of we met other people, and it kind of started to pick up, and it kind of brought us to California. I mean, it brought us to California. That's what when I came here in 2000. That's what brought me here was the prospect of music, of doing music, right?
And you are a young
Uh,
man. You were 25 years old. So it was you and a couple of
yeah,
friends, had a background in
right,
dancing, and then started
right,
rapping. And what kind of doors did
right.
that open for you?
It was. I mean, like I said, it was just one of those things where we was doing it. I don't even know. Like I said, I've always just been creative. I don't know. I
Hmm.
went from dancing to rapping, and we was doing it, and we just started meeting people. People would hear us, and we just started meeting people. And we met this dude named D Sparks. He was a dude from Kansas City. Andre. God, he's not here with us no more. But we met him, and he kind of really like start kind of like booking shows for us and like doing stuff back home, like doing cool stuff back home, booking shows. Uh, Took us to St. Louis. He was just doing cool stuff. And then after he passed, he was kind of like in limbo, but we had other friends who were in California doing cool things too. So they was like, yo, y'all should come to Cali. Uh, so we came to California and we had met this guy named Darren Vegas. Darren Vegas was a producer for real people like Bone Thugs and Harmony, a
Oh,
bunch of West
wow.
Coast people. He produced for a lot of people. So he liked us. He picked us up. And then, of course, I can't give you everything because we only got so much time. So he picked us up. But it didn't work out at that time. So we ended up actually going back home for like a year.
Hmm.
We ended up going, we had to regroup because it was just like the money, the way everything was just different in Kansas City. Like everything was different.
Yeah, it's a
So we had
culture
to go back
shock.
home for real, for real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we had to go back home and regroup. It was like, yo, we gotta figure it out. And then we ended up coming back in a different way. And then we hooked up with Darren, but when we came back at this time, Darren was like doing with stuff with Death Row. So, like I said, long story short, I've been in the studio with Suge. I was able to I really was like able to
Wow.
experience. I went from I'm a big Tupac fan. So I went from like listening to Tupac to actually like being in the same kind of circles as him, like down at the Wilshire offices,
That's crazy.
down, at the studio, like in the studio with Suge. And this all happened like because of Darren, but I'm just
Mm.
saying like I literally kind of willed that. Like it was just amazing to me. I don't care if I ever recorded
It
one
just
record,
came
and we
full
actually
circle.
did, man, and we
Yeah.
actually did get like a record deal, or my man Damon did, and I was on it. But nevertheless, I didn't care if I recorded one. It was just the fact that I was able to visualize that and make it happen. That's I mean, that was a powerful thing for me, right? So, the clothing thing. So we go from dancing, we go to
Yeah, because
music,
that's my next
clothing.
question. The segue from
Uh,
music into fashion.
right. So that's just so I work. So through all this, I have a job. So it's not like
Hmm.
a brother. It's not like I work in the medical field. So I'm a respiratory therapist. That's
Oh,
how
okay. That's awesome.
uh, yeah. So that's how I pay my bills. So that's what I do, and that's how I kind of facilitate what I'm doing with PCS too, because
Mm.
you know it's a grind. It takes time. So through all of this, I've always worked. I've always had a job. So it was just to that point to where I was getting to that point in life to like I want to control my time. Like I can't control my time if I'm working for somebody. Like I
Mm.
can't, you know what I mean? Like I just can't. I want to be able to take vacations when I want to. I want to just be able to spend time with the people I love when I want
More
to. So
flexibility.
right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, what can we do? So I was like, man, And I know a bunch of talented brothers. There's like 5 or 6 of us out here that was out here at that time from Kansas City. Like, all of us talented, all of us, coming out here to do things. So I was like, we got to be able to pull our resources together and be able to do something.
Yeah.
So it was this one brother named Punch. Punch was like, he had been in California like probably the longest of all of us. Punch is like a legend in the streets of Kansas City, if you don't know. He came from Kansas City. He's a dancer. He's a dancer that moved to California who's done and danced for everybody that you can possibly imagine.
Wow.
He's done like amazing things, like a phenomenal dancer, right? So when he was doing like some t-shirts and so he had like, let's do a clothing line. I was like, well, that sounds good. So at the time, I was more of the just the background business part of it, right? Just trying to figure out how to get the money, how we gonna do it, like how can I make this? Oh, this sounds something like we can do. And like I said, now when I hooked up with Punch, he had a great career. This wasn't like at the golden era of his career, but he still had connections. He was still well known. You know what I'm saying? He had done, dancing with Aaliyah. He had done some great stuff. You know what I mean? Like
what point in time was this for you? Like what age were you when all this was going on? When you
so this is like 25. All this is 25, right?
Okay.
This is when I moved out here.
Pretty quickly.
Well, no, not 25. Not when I first moved out here. So maybe this is like 28. This is probably like when I'm like 28, 29, somewhere around there. Maybe even, it's later than that. It's later than that because I had my daughter when I was 30. So it's probably like around 32, 33. Right, it's later than that.
Right,
35,
so you had some time to start a career.
So like I said, I've been working.
Yeah.
This has been a process. Like it's just been kind of one of those things that's just been spread out. So for a long time, there was nothing. There was no dance, of course. There was no music. It was just me working, going to school, that type of stuff. That's all it was. And then, like I said, one day it was just like, I need to be able to control my time. This working thing is just, and I'm not opposed to working because I'm still working. But what's the end result of that? So, like, I wanted to create
towards
something.
The future and something creative.
I wanted to create something, that was mine. You know what I mean? That I can own. That's mine. If I'm sitting there doing this job and I'm not making the majority of the money, somebody else is, right? Like on my efforts. Why come I can't apply that same theory to myself?
Exactly.
Right.
And that becomes a big deal too once you start having kids. Like you have kids, you're thinking about a legacy, you're thinking about something to pass down to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, what you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, and then I work in the medical field, so I see sick people, right? So I understand if you don't plan right, if you don't do the right things, everybody was fly at one point in time.
At one point in time, that's true. At one point in time, everybody was,
everybody was fly.
So
but it'd be that.
So talking about, at this point, you're like, I got to do something different. I got to pivot. I want to use some of my creative, skills. And then you have someone who's pushing you into fashion.
I hit my man Trey actually, and I was like, man, what can we do? And Trey was like, well, Punch doing like these t-shirts. Maybe you want to give him a call. So I hit Punch up. Punch was doing some t-shirts. He had like some mock-ups of t-shirts, and I told you Punch was like a Kansas City legend. Kansas City legend. So he had been out here, dated Brandy, just like legend, right? Legendary shit. So, we wanted to do the t-shirts, and he had some t-shirts. So we just started doing stuff. And then it was like, we got to do more than t-shirts, and everybody do t-shirts. So how can we make it even better? So we was like thinking in. So he bought in. He knew a designer that he bought in. Her name was Lisette. She was super dope. He bought her in. She did like our first like real design stuff, but it was like more street heavy. It was called Punch City. At this time, I'm just like the business part of it, just like figuring out the resources. How can we get the money to make the stuff? Pay the people that's making the stuff, and pay the people that's doing the designs. That's really my function.
And that's an important piece. That's an important element because I definitely want to ask about that because people, they may have an idea and they've got the shirts marked up and everything like you're saying, but they don't know how to link with a manufacturer or a source.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you guys ran into a lot of challenges with that because not everybody is honest.
No, absolutely. No, we definitely ran into, like I said, when we did that first run. So and then Punch, he had resources, so he was already doing the modeling thing for this company called D9 that he was doing. So that's where he kind of got the inspiration to do the clothing line, because he was already kind of doing the modeling thing, right? So when we started, they was more than receptive, or on his word to kind of introduce us to some kind of vendors and stuff like that, right? So you reach out to people, tell you, hey, I use this type of T-shirt, or I use this type of T-shirt. So then you just kind of start picking up. But when we did do that first run, because Lisette, she was a designer. Like she designed. She worked for companies like, Forever 21. She designed. So we just kind of gave her the reins of that first run. Like, okay, we trust everything you're saying or whatever. But when we got the product back, it was horrible.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Like, it was horrible. Like that first run, like it was horrible. The shorts, the shirt, and it was all cut and sew stuff. So it wasn't cheap, right? Because you can do cut and sew, or you can do white label, and I can get into that later. But it was all cut and sew stuff, so it wasn't cheap. But it was horrible. But at that time, like I said, the brand was called Punch City. It was more of like a street look. Everything was kind of black and white. It was, more street heavy, graphic heavy. So it was just one of those things where all those things happen.
Yeah.
But then once you get going, and then money's being spent, and accountability, like everything don't match up, and everybody's grind is not the same, right? Everybody's hustle is not the same. So
yeah, it's really
one of those
difficult.
things where it just kind of fell apart in that regard, right?
So how did that pivot over into you moving into your own brand? Because this
right.
brand
So
is
like
yours.
I said, it just kind of fell apart, but it was one of those things where, like I said, people want instant results.
Yeah.
And trust me, I want instant results too, right? But
instant results are great. It works well for grits.
It takes time. I mean, it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
And like I said, everybody's dedication and motivation is just not the same. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy fashion. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was little, I would always enjoy fashion. I've always enjoyed like picking out outfits and just, matching. I've always enjoyed it. You know what I mean? So even with my kids now, like I be trying to pick out their outfits for school, my wife and shit.
Oh, they still let you dress them?
Yeah, because they do. They come to me because they know. I know how to get fly, so they know. So
you're very lucky on that, because most kids, older kids, they do not let you touch that.
Nah, my kids, my daughter, she'll go to school and be like, my daddy picked this out. This little girl, she said, friends, like, I wish my daddy would do stuff like that. But yeah, I dress them, you know what I'm saying? Because I like it. I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. So I didn't want to stop because we fell out or because it didn't work out in that situation. So I was trying to figure out how to transition it. How can I keep it going? So it went from Punch City to Punch City Collections. And then I kind of changed the look because I felt that first look, the street look, was really limited in the demographic and the people that we were going to try to appeal to. You know what I'm saying? We 30-some years old. We got all this street-heavy graphic design, stuff that we won't even really wear.
I get what you're saying.
We expect other people to wear, right? And it just didn't make sense. So then I went to more like a clean look to where it was like, more Gap-ish, more Old Navy-ish type vibe, right? Just really clean, simple.
It's that real classic, how they call it, SoCal casual.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, just something that's just casual, right? You know what I mean? Like, this brand is not, at least at this point, it's not going to dress you for the Grammys or nothing like that, right? It's more that casual, it's more that casual, go out, run errands, comfort wear at this point in this stage in life, right, in existence. So, again, I transformed to Punch City Collections. And then it became like, well, why are you still calling it Punch City? Because, he ain't, but, you got to understand, everything's in my name. I paid for the business, everything's in my name. Mm-hmm. So Punch City is under LLC, is established under Brandon David Kennedy, right? So I just kept running with that name for a while until I figured out how to make it make sense. Yeah. Because it was Punch City and it had to make sense. I did go to school for business or whatever a little bit. So I know a little bit of something, not a lot, but a little bit of something. So,
You know enough.
yeah, so it came to a point to where people, why you still calling it Punch City? Why you still calling it Punch City? And yeah, you know, that kind of, so I'm like, all right, whatever. So it came to a point where I was like, okay, I'm going to change it. And it made sense, like PCS, Pacific Coast Supply. Pacific Coast Supply, for me, is a more broader name, right? To me, it appeals to a bigger demographic, right? The name itself, Pacific Coast Supply. And it's not limiting in who it appeals to, as far as, you know, Black, white, Asian, right? So I like that. So I was like, okay, I'll just call it Pacific Coast Supply. And I changed it from Punch City to Pacific Coast Supply. But like I said, when I was, you know, before that, the brand had been on TV, on Hulu. It had been on Bounce TV for like.
Oh, okay. So you were
able
to.
Yeah, so the
connected.
brand had done some things as Punch City. It had done some things that I was like surprised of. So it was on this show called East Lost. So it had been on that show. They had got the clothing. It was on another show called In the Cutter on Bounce TV. DC Young Fly had on one of our jackets on the show.
I remember that show, actually. I actually remember that show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was called Punch City then, right? So we had some success with it then, but again, everybody's ideal of success, everybody's time frame for success is different. And once I started investing and putting money in it and getting other people's money in my hand, it just became more of a mission for me, right, to make it work. Plus, again, I'm having success. I like to call what I heard somebody say, I'm failing forward. Right.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Right? That's a very big thing when I'm talking to people about understanding what failing forward means.
Yeah.
And so in that same vein, I know earlier I mentioned, you know, about people having difficulties trying to figure out a manufacturer. You mentioned that you had issues with the first run of the product, the quality, coming back and saying, oh, this is not it. So what have been some of the challenges that you've had in dealing with finding a manufacturer, a distributor, setting up the website?
I mean, just finding honest people, people that's going to do what they say they're going to do. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the hardest part. That's just trial and error. My mother used to always say, chalk it up as a lesson learned and, you know, keep it moving. You can't account for that. You can't account, you know what I mean? Like, I had people trying to charge me when I was first starting out, crazy, you know, amount of money to do things. And, you know, it's just one of those things where you start meeting people, you figure it out, right? You figure it out. It's
you find out where the benchmark is and that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go to school for this, right? You got to understand, this is just something, again, that we said, okay, let's do it. Like, let's do it. And we willed it to fruition. That's powerful to me. Like, just some guys who like, let's do it. Yeah. Now, if we all had been on the plane, same mental plane, ain't no telling where we would be right now, but this is also part of the story. This is what makes, you know, this is also part of the plan too as well, right? So we just said, let's do it. Let's do it. I just said, let's do it. And this show done been on TV. It's done, like, we had that girl, Meet Me Outside. What's her name? Meet Me Outside, the little white girl.
I know
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I can't think of her name, but we had her.
I'm pretty sure I burned her name out of my memory bank. So
but you know what I'm talking about. But we had her in the Punch City crop top, like, so for like doing her concert stuff, like.
Oh wow.
So for real stuff. I mean, just those little. And I'm not saying she's some kind of major star. She probably she ain't here no more. But what I'm saying is to take something that didn't exist and make it exist.
Right.
Right? And be able to have those kind of little moments of success. That means something. You got something, right? You really do got something. You just got to stay with it. So for people who, you know, how do you find a vendor? Or there's no formula for it. There's just trial and error because everybody's needs and specifications are different, right? So for what I needed, it was different for what you might need. All I can say is just, you know, ask questions.
Ask a lot of questions.
Ask questions. You know what I mean? That's all you can do is just ask questions. Again, that's not 100% guarantee that's going to save you from heartache or losing money or none of that, right? But Ask questions. But it is trial and error. And that's
That's
how
a
I
good
looked at it.
point.
Like, this is part of the game. Like, you got to take those type of losses. Like, that's just part of it, right? That's just part of it. You're going to take those type of losses. But from that, I did grow. From that, I did learn, right?
Yeah.
What not to do. So, like I said, there really is no specific way anybody tells you because everybody's vision is different. Everybody's needs is different. So,
Yeah.
but for me, that first run was horrible. It was just horrible. Like George was made like, like them laundry bags and like that net material that when you had to go to the
Yeah, that real
laundromat,
rough. Yeah.
that mesh, like that's what the shorts is
That's what
like
they
kind of
gave you?
made
Oh
out.
no, that's crazy.
Man, it was horrible.
That's
It
crazy.
was horrible.
So what I want to
Yeah.
ask now is what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
So right now, like I said, if you've been to the site, you see like I said, so right now I'm about to focus on doing some stuff with my son, doing some youth clothing, some hoodies, some stuff like that. Not because I'm stepping away from adult stuff, just trying to expand it. Again, that's another thing. Like, I have limited inventory right now or limited selections for people. So it's still one of those things where, I'm figuring it out. I need to add pieces. I need to do this. I need to do that. But right now my focus is trying to build something for my son, for youth. A lot of the people that are in my demographic, in my age group, have kids, nephews, nieces.
Yes, very much
right?
so.
It's just a different type of market. I got a good looking kid. So,
That's a plus.
yeah. You know what I mean? So, just do something there. I think that's my next thing. Plus, I got some, so if you looked at it, and I know we have limited time, so I can't get into a whole spiel, but if you looked at it, my whole thing is about looking at the different elements of California. So, you can go to the mountains, you can go surfing, you can do things like that's my surfboard, my leveled out surfboard.
Mm-hmm.
I got like a snowsuit type vibe that I'm doing, that I'm working on. So this is like a snowsuit jacket, right?
Okay.
So if you go to the mountains, I didn't get to tell you none of this because I feel like we might be coming to the end, but the 02241, that's the address I grew up in Kansas City. So my mother passed in like 2018. So I wanted to implement that into the brand as like my origin number. So that's my origin number. That's where I'm from.
Ooh, okay.
2421 Indiana. So when you see that on my clothes, that means 2421. That's where I'm from. The 14, as you see on my sleeve, the 14, that's the year that we started, right? So it started as Punch City, but it changed into something else. It changed into Pacific Coast Supply. So PCS. So
that
it's one, like I
messaging
said,
is so important.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's more to it than just me trying to make clothes and, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be a street brand. I'm trying to have longevity. So that process, trying to figure that out, like, how my business is structured, since I really don't have partners anymore, just having an LLC is might not be beneficial to me versus having a sole proprietorship, right? So learning those different things and figuring that stuff out, all that type of stuff. So like I said, I'm still, that's the beauty of it.
Honestly, I'm so excited for what you're doing, and the quality of what you put out is amazing. I really appreciate the visuals that you have with everything, and I encourage people to go out onto your social medias and check that out. So go ahead and provide them with that information. Give them your social media. So
social media wise, I mean, just basically I'm on Instagram right now. I need to build that out more. But anyway, that's PCS _clothing co. So on Instagram at PCS _clothing co. You can also find us on Facebook at Pacific Coast Supply Clothing. But like I said, I probably need to get a TikTok and a YouTube.
What I'm hoping is that, as you learn how to reach more people and you stretch out your platform, and then of course, putting yourself out there like you have with me today, which I greatly appreciate, will help you to get your product in front of other audiences. And so that's so dope. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes for you in the future and how your reach will expand. I thank you all for joining me today. Again, I want to thank my guest, Brendan Kennedy, for joining me and talking with me and dropping all the gems that he did. If you had as much fun as we did today, make sure that you click like, you subscribe, you share, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. New episodes of Getting Close Up air bi-weekly on Fridays. And also, don't forget to check out GCU Review with me and Dee as we give you the tea on what's hot and what's not. I mean, you're not going to want to miss it. You already know what it is. We're a great time. I thank you guys for watching and being the best part of all of this. And I'll see you again soon for another Close Up. I'll be checking for you. Bye.